Good morning to you. It's Kim McAllister filling in for Nikki Medoro today. Of course, Nikki had her second job in San Francisco. And so for today and tomorrow, we kind of keep the home fires burning and keep the show going. Thanks for being here and thanks for waiting. Kind of chilly this morning, overcast and definitely a fall day. So I had to run out to the other room and grab a sweater before we started. Um, Looking at the news this morning, some exciting turning of events in the Trump legal saga. I saw that Jenna Ellis has now flipped. So let's see. That means we have. This is getting too good, right? We've got Sidney Powell, Kenneth Chesborough, and now Jenna Ellis. These are people that tried to defraud the American people. So I feel personally as if they've committed an affront against me. You feel like they've committed an affront against you? Let me tell you what they got. They got, uh, depending on which one, $5,000 or $6,000 fine. In Jenna Ellis's case, I believe she got 5 years of probation. One of them got 6 years of probation, but very similar, right? And in Jenna Ellis's case, 100 hours of community service, and she has to write an apology to the people of Georgia in the state in which she was charged. Personally, I think she should write an apology to America. We'll get into that. We'll talk a little bit about a big environmental move that President Biden has made that will affect all of our health. And Mary Lou Retton was in the hospital knocking on death's door, and it seems like now she's going to come out of this and be okay. So we'll take a look at that case as well. All right, first I would love to ask you if you could to please click the like button. If you're here and haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button as well. And I will refer you to the NikkiMedoroShow.com website. The NikkiMedoroShow.com is our website, and a lot of you that are here every day know that is where you will find the Patreon and the PayPal link. All of that is there, and that's how we keep the show rolling. So thank you for whatever you can do. Of course, the super sticker is open as well, and so we always appreciate that. And again, the thumbs up button, that's the free way to just show your support. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, let's dig into this. I wasn't going to start with this, but I'm kind of, I don't know whether to feel excited or annoyed that people like Jenna Ellis are getting off with basically what I think amounts to a slap on the wrist because they have such compelling testimony and they're sitting on such proof that it's worth going for the big guy, right? Oh, thank you, Harry. You guys are so nice. Harry, thank you very much for the $5 super sticker. Love you, Kim McAllister Show. Don't you hate it when pilots try to crash the party? Pretty good one. I'm wearing the Chesbro costume for Halloween. Harry, you're awesome. I love you. Thank you for the $5 super sticker and starting us off right. Much appreciated. And Eric writing today, if after all these people flipping, if Trump doesn't actually go to jail, well, they're just letting everyone off for nothing. And that's going to be the frustrating part, Eric. If all of this slap on the wrist for people that did these egregious crimes against the American people, tried to get in the way of our vote, of our choice, just doing such an un-American thing for what? A few thousand hours of community service and a fine, which they can readily afford. That's going to be a heartbreaker for me. And so I hope that that is not the case and that I guess trust Fonnie Willis, right? In that she's got a plan and hope it all comes together. I guess that's the best we can do. But here's a picture of Jenna Ellis, if you don't know who she is, one of the president's attorneys. And Jenna today had to go to court. And she was apparently crying as she spoke to the people. I don't feel bad. Here's what she said. I failed to do my due diligence. I believe in and I value election integrity. cheater, cheater, pumpkin eater. If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges. I look back on this whole experience with deep remorse. Really, Jenna? Really? Do you look on this whole experience with deep remorse, or you just, you know, regret that you got caught? Is that what it is? Are you remorseful that you got caught? Because I'll tell you what, if your little scheme had worked and there weren't people with integrity that stood up along the way to slam you down, and Trump had actually cheated and stolen the presidency in this country, where it's supposed to be one voice, one vote, would you be deeply remorseful then? Would you be in the White House prancing around, counting your cash? Or would you be deeply remorseful? Oh, you're just deeply remorseful that you got caught, Jenna. Got it. Okay. Here's what she did. They said this in court this morning. She is alleged to have attended a meeting with other Trump backers to discuss state electors. She was accused of urging Georgia legislators to unlawfully appoint a set of presidential electors in Trump's favor at a hearing in Pennsylvania, a tactic she also pushed in other states with close results in 2020, like Arizona and Michigan. One December of 2020 meeting Ellis attended included former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who was her co-defendant. On X, Ellis tweeted a Bible verse. God is good all the time, even in the midst of an evil world. What if you're the evil world, Jenna Ellis? What if you tried to take my vote? What if you tried to take my voice? Because it didn't just happen in Georgia, you did it in multiple states. Crimes against America. What you have to say better be really good. And you better spend the rest of your life being remorseful. I mean, if I saw her on the street, I would turn my back. I'm disgusted. Disgusted. Do you feel that way? Or am I just overreacting? Oh, listen to the liberal. She's so upset they tried to steal the vote. Yes, I am. I am upset. Because as much as I don't like Trump, if he had won legitimately, hey, then win legitimately. You try to cheat your way in, then you're trying to cheat the entire country. And you should be red-faced, ashamed, embarrassed, and I'm sorry, have no future. And I hope they take away her law license. I hope she never practices again. I hope she's never involved in politics again and lives a life of obscurity. God, Kim, mad much? Yes. Yes. People raised money for her defense. $216,000. She went on this website called Give, Send, Go and basically collected money for her defense, and people gave it. You guys know what she did to you? All of us, and you gave money to represent her? Well, now people are mad because they thought that, she was going to support Trump all the way. And now she's a flip-flopper. Look at that. By doing these plea arrangements, Jenna here and her friends Kenneth Chesbrough and Sidney Powell avoid any jail time. So, she got to do some community service. Gonna go on probation for a couple years. Gonna cough up $5,000. And that's the end of it for her. So, I hope the shame and the weight of the wrath of the American people, and again, I'm not wishing anyone violence. I'm not wishing any of that. But disgust? Yeah. Yeah. If I saw her walking down the street, I'd look away in disgust. I would. I guess that's the only punishment she's going to get. Right? I mean, in the olden days, they would have cast her out expelled her from society, perhaps. I don't know. So whatever she has to say must be good enough to because they're going after the big guy, and that's who they want. And so on the day he's led away to prison in an orange jumpsuit, is it going to be worth all these people that were the architects of what happened to America, of trying to steal the election, getting off with a slap on the wrist? I hope so. I mean, at least then, if he's convicted of an egregious enough crime, maybe he won't be able to run again. Vilma's got it right. She betrayed the trust of the American people. I mean, maybe she never committed to the American people, right? Why how could you be so deep into the whole Trump fervor that you would be willing to do this? That you would be willing to cheat to win an election like this, a presidential election? I have to think it was about money and what she's going to get on the other side of it. Yeah. Deidre says Fox has this story on their website, and the maggots are commenting that she's being set up, and that if they could do it to her, they'll do it to you. Wait, what? We're setting her up? So she's not responsible for her own crimes? She's not responsible. I mean, she went in court today. She's the one who went into court. Let's read it again. See if it strikes you a second time. I failed to do my due diligence. I believe in and I value election integrity. If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges. I look back on this whole experience with deep remorse. Yeah, feels really true, Jenna. I didn't mean to start with such disgust and negativity, but it's just so upsetting. Honestly. The whole thing. And I want people to face the music, especially the people at the higher end of this thing. And it doesn't feel right that these attorneys that crafted ways to screw the American people get off with a slap on the wrist. It really doesn't. Outrageous. Are you kidding me? Because I don't know if the end is worth it. I just don't know. Jenna here was facing charges of violating Georgia's Racketeer Influenced and Corruption Organizations Act and soliciting the violation of oath by a public officer. Both of those are felonies. Apparently, she was tearful when she went into court this morning. Well, good. I hope you're feeling it. I hope you feel like a big failure right now. I hope you feel somewhere in the recesses of your soul, Jenna, what you did to the American people. I hope you feel it. I don't know. I don't know how you get scooped that far into it. But let's hope what she has to say is worth it, right? By the way, Jenna Ellis says she's both an attorney and a Christian, and she keeps posting these Christian Bible sayings on her X account. Okay. Yep. Keep crying. So people keep flip-flopping, and Trump has to be getting nervous, right? I mean, you think? He's already tried to distance himself from Sidney Powell. Oh, she's not my attorney. Well, she was never really my attorney. Well, yeah, yes, she was. Even if for however briefly before she went cuckoo crazy, she was your attorney. This is a person he kept in contact with the whole time throughout all the election shenanigans. Though he's already trying to backpedal. I think he's feeling it now. He's seeing all these people flip-flopping on him and giving testimony. I want that testimony to be read to the American people. That's what I want. I think we deserve it. We deserve to hear exactly what they have to say. So, let's go to the chat. See what you guys have to say. All right. Trump is a buffoon, indeed. Cretins often do such hypocrisy. Mm. She's only tearful for herself, probably. Yeah. Again, upset that she got caught, right? Because if it had been successful, she'd be skipping through the halls of the White House counting her cash. Look at this, all of my money. He's not nervous, says Beth. The only emotion he has is anger. Yeah, he gets really angry when people aren't loyal, right? Look at all the people that were pressured with legal charges and have flip-flopped on him. Well, we see what happens when you're charged. It's not like he's going to come to your defense with money or anything. He's not going to cough up the cash to help you. No. Chris, plea to this jail misdemeanor. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now watch, says Judy. Trump will be like, who's Jenna Ellis? Totally. I'm sorry, that doesn't work. It didn't work with Sidney Powell. It's not going to work here. Vilma says Trump wants your loyalty and he wants your soul. The people that get involved with Trump usually seem to lose everything while Trump gets off free as a bird. Oh, well, hopefully, Fonnie Willis knows what she's doing in giving these people these plea deals and she's collecting some serious evidence. Doug writing, if I knew now what I knew, if I knew what I knew now, Live a Cousin by Rod Stewart and Ronnie Wood is an awesome song. Oh, yeah. True. Lady Beatrice, it's fine to be a Christian, but the issue is whether or not Trump and his sycophantic fan club actually practice what they're posting. It seems like some people kind of hide behind Christianity. Oh, I'm a good Christian. But then, in the next breath, they do something so incredibly unchristian-like. Right? I mean, are you volunteering at the homeless shelter? Because aren't Christians supposed to be helping people? Helping the downtrodden and the poor? What is it? Judge lest not ye be judged? But it seems like a lot of people are just very judgy and take the tenets of the Bible and hold them up in a different way. I'm not a religion. So if I'm judgy against Jenna Ellis, fine by me. I'm just angry at that. But I don't think you can, put up these Bible verses every day when it seems like if you're supposed to be, it's not like you can't make mistakes if you're a Christian. You can't sin if you're a Christian, obviously, right? You can. But you try to live an upstanding life. And I don't know, but isn't there something in the Bible about not being a cheater, not stealing? Oh, thou shalt not steal. Got it. Does stealing an election count? Not a Christian, you're a hypocrite. Hypocrite. Harry says Trump will throw anyone under the bus, even his own kids. Jim writing, if Trump is getting so forgetful, then his mind is questionable to run. Oh, about whether or not she was ever his lawyer? Right. It's true. Maud's thinking jailbirds soon. Brian, I've never heard anything like this before. Trump says, Lady Beatrice says Trump is defiantly getting nervous if he's getting increasingly desperate. His outburst on the courthouse, at the courthouse shows how nervous he is getting. Vilma says, Jenna Ellis, just low-hanging fruit. Get the low-hanging fruit to get the big guy. Yeah, but see, this low-hanging fruit, agreed. But this low-hanging fruit, they came up with all this stuff, right? They put it into action. They're the minions that made it happen. I think they deserve more than the slap they're getting. Yeah. Ron says, they're fronting at the homeless shelter. I see them at the strip club. He's kidding, but yes. Yeah, Deidre. In their minds, Christian equals white, conservative, evangelical. Eric says, as a liberal Christian, I very much stand against all the evangelicals using Christianity for atrocities and making the rest of us look bad. I mean, what does it mean to be a Christian? I once knew a woman I worked with, and she was very devout, single woman, very devout about, and would love to talk to you about how she goes to church on Sunday and her Christianity and everything. And that's great. And in the next breath, she would tell you that on Friday night she was down at the bars and how many guys she picked up on and took home. Does that compute? All right. I mean, are you living your Christian like life? Okay. It's like, and it's interesting because I kind of believe in this. If you're going to that if you subscribe to a religion, and I used to have a debate with a Mormon guy that I worked with, and he would say, no, you can't pick and choose parts of the religion that you want. You either subscribe to the whole religion, or you're not that religion. You don't just pick and choose your favorite parts and move on. And I'm thinking, well, why not? Because look at the Bible. I mean, there's a lot of things. I don't agree with stoning women. I don't agree that with the way that adulterers were treated back then. I don't believe in, you know, beating women and children. Like, no, there are a lot of things in the Bible that I could say, yeah, that doesn't work for me. So do I have to accept the entire thing where I'm not a Christian? I mean, not, but okay. I don't know what got me off on that tangent, but yeah. Jeff Spencer says I think they forgot the Ten Commandments. Lori writing, interesting, he says Powell was never his attorney because this lets her off the hook for any attorney-client privilege he tries to claim. Also, why aren't the attorneys who cut deals also being disbarred? I think that's a different process. I think that when you plead guilty to a felony or some such, it kickstarts some type of case in the states in which you are on that bar or hold a law license. So I think we'll see that happening, but I don't necessarily know if it's part of these criminal cases. We'll see. But I'm betting you're right, Lori. I'm betting that they're going to lose their law licenses. Absolutely. Yeah. Spencer says this courthouse crap is a comedy act. It really is. It's like, what's going to happen next? I'm telling you. The Lady Beatrice says, as a Presbyterian, I'm sick of these evangelicals. Do I feel sorry for them? Absolutely. But they're definitely using their religion as a mask for all the crap they do. And I think that's what I was getting off on that tangent. It's total hypocrisy. That in one breath you could say that you subscribe to the whole thing, and in the next breath you could do something that seems to be so wholly against what you say you believe in. Very hypocritical. So, you guys are awesome. I love all these comments. I can't get to all of them. But Harry says, what? I don't get to pick and choose from the 10 Commandments? No. I think if you believe in one commandment, you're in it for to win it for all 10. I don't know. Ron talking about 2,000 years ago, some guys wrote something and I have to adhere to every word. I'll make my own decisions. I don't respect most evangelical leaders, and all I see is the Reverend Cash Money. Pretty much, right? Vilma saying Trump is America's first mob boss president. He runs his organization that way. And John writing, I think Jenna was the one who coined the phrase elite strike force of lawyers for Trump. Yeah. Really elite strike force. Talk about being disbarred and convicted of felonies. That's the way that goes. All right, that's not how I intended to start the show, but that's the way it started nonetheless. So let's move on to some other topics because President Biden did something actually pretty cool, I think. See what you guys have to say about this. It's a big environmental move for him, and he has banned this toxic chemical, this cancer-causing industrial solvent known as TCE, or trichloroethylene. Apparently, according to the EPA, so dangerous in small amounts that they don't think any uses can continue. Wish they'd have done this a long time ago. It's used in refrigerants degreasers, and dry cleaning. I mean, come on. And they've known it was toxic for a long time. But finally, here comes President Biden saying, yeah, we got to get rid of the TCE. So the EPA announces at a press conference in Massachusetts where industrial dumping from some companies starting in the 1950s left this town, Woburn, Massachusetts, their ground, their soil, their groundwater, their drinking wells tainted with TCE and other chemicals. There was an environmental disaster afterward, a human health disaster. It's all in this book called A Civil Action. The book 1995, and then there was a movie in 1998. A Civil Action is what it was called. So the EPA says this is an important, long overdue step in our efforts to protect families, workers, communities from dangerous chemicals. I'll tell you, the book came out in 1995. The movie came out in 1998. It's 2023. So you knew it was disastrous for years? The science is loud and clear, says Michael Friedhoff, Assistant Administrator of the EPA's Office of Chemical Safety and Pollution Prevention. You didn't prevent this, pal. The science is loud and clear. The chemical is so dangerous, even in small amounts, that we don't think any uses can safely continue. This is got a 45-day public comment period, but would force companies to end the use of TCE for most commercial and consumer uses within 1 year. It would provide longer phase-out times for certain military and industrial uses, like battery manufacturing and refrigerants. There are in the United States, every year, 250 million pounds of TCE used. It's an unreasonable risk of injury to human health in all but 2 of 54 known uses. They say we can't turn back the wheels of time and reverse the chemical safety tragedies in this country. But with this rule, we are writing what I hope will be the final chapter in the TCE story once and for all. So they're celebrating. And that's great. And it's good that someone's finally done something. Maybe I'm just negative Nelly today, but I'm telling you, it's not good enough that you did it now. How many people were sickened? How much of our groundwater is tainted because you didn't take steps when you knew it was dangerous? Because somehow industry won out. I mean, is anyone tired of not being put first? Of the common person not being put first? There's another comment. We celebrate with this rule, we can see a future where we will no longer be manufacturing, processing, and distributing a chemical known to be deadly. We will no longer be exposing American families, communities, and workers to a toxic chemical legacy that leaves questions, cancer, and catastrophe in its wake. Today is a moment we have been fighting for nearly 45 years, the banning of TCE. This is, and the reason that it was even banned, and thank goodness that President Biden is doing this, part of his moonshot initiative. He set a goal of reducing cancer deaths by 50% over the next 25 years. Of course, you know President Biden's oldest son, Beau, died of brain cancer in 2015. So he's feeling the results of a world laden with chemicals. His goal, President's, is to end cancer as we know it, bring added urgency to the fight, bring the power of the federal government together to find solutions and save lives. That according to an EPA statement. So it's great that this happened. Where was President Obama in this? Why didn't he ban TCE? Where was President Clinton in this? I'm calling on Democrats because I don't expect anything from Republicans. I know they're out for the money. Sorry, I just do. They're always going to back business, right? They're always going to back industry. Got it. Point taken. Well, where's Obama? Where's Clinton? Where's Carter? We knew better and we didn't do anything about it. And so now we have forever chemicals lurking in our water because we cared more about the money than we cared about our lives. But President Biden, as part of his moonshot initiative, takes this step. And that's a big deal. So I get why they're celebrating, but it's still frustrating to see that they could have done something so much sooner. But okay, this industrial solvent, gone. Good. Sayonara, TCE. Mary Lou Retton, let's talk about that, because we didn't know she was going to make it. She was really, really sick, had a rare type of pneumonia, right? She's been discharged from the hospital. Now, she was in ICU on a breathing tube, life support, a former Olympian, and she's in shape, right? Was in very good health, but got this rare form of pneumonia and fought, and she's finally been discharged from the hospital. They say she's in recovery mode. The daughter of Mary Lou Retton wrote on Instagram, "Mom is home in recovery mode. We still have a long road of recovery ahead of us, but baby steps. We are overwhelmed with the love and support from everyone. Grateful doesn't scrape the surface of the posture of our hearts." They raised for Mary Lou Retton, a former Olympian, who's got a couple $1 million, but still, when you're in ICU on life support, I mean, that's a big, big hospital bill. People donating to her cause raised $460,000 to pay off her medical bills. Lovely. I mean, we shouldn't have had to, as a country, had a GoFundMe to pay off her medical bills. That should have been done. She shouldn't have had to, that should have been the last thing our family had to worry about, is how are we going to pay for this, right? They should have been focusing on, how are we going to get mom okay? How are we going to get her home and cared for? And instead they had to worry about how they're going to cough up the cash for all the medical bills. So I'm so glad to hear that she's on the mend and that she's well enough to be released from the hospital. And I am very hopeful that she'll recover. Hard to see when people are struggling that way. Let's talk about the Speaker of the House and the goings on. We had a kind of a sample menu. We have nine candidates now, 9 people that had thrown their hat into the ring to be the Speaker of the House. And all of them were election deniers at one point. So that's what we're going to get, right? That's who's interested in being the next speaker. A heartbeat away from the presidency, as they say. Well, this morning we had a couple of candidates bow out. The House has selected Tom Emmer as the new speaker nominee. That's the latest. So Tom Emmer is the latest. And of course, he is the highest profile as well. He got 117 votes today. And that was more than Mike Johnson of Louisiana's 97. Other people just got a smattering of votes. But that doesn't mean just because he got enough votes to be the nominee that he will have enough votes to win the House. He still faces the same hurdle as Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise, the guy before that who couldn't pull it off either. So Emmer is the House Majority Whip, is his current position. He wants to deliver historic change. Kevin McCarthy has backed him. But Emmer voted to certify the 2020 election in a rebuke, they say, to former President Trump, could face resistance from some members of the House Freedom Caucus, skeptical of the current leadership team. And so, he's in the same boat, basically. They're in the same boat against factions of the Republican Party that are fighting with each other. So we don't know when the next vote will be held, a floor vote for Speaker of the House, but we do have a speaker designate in Tom Emmer. So We'll see how he does. He's from Minnesota. They had several rounds of voting to get to him being the speaker nominee, and they haven't even had to vote for him yet. So, yeah, a lot of pressure. The American people, meanwhile, our business is put on the back burner until they can figure all this out. So, it's frustrating to see it all play out. This is not normal for America. We don't usually have these issues. We usually have kind of strong, united parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, right? And they're in power. They have a limited amount of time to get their stuff done, so they move on it. They're so fractured they can't even do that this time. And okay. Meanwhile, we have got a country where we've got some issues with our debt and the possible closing down of the country's business again. All right. Since we've talked a little bit about Trump, let's continue. Did you hear that he compared himself to Nelson Mandela? Like in the political prisoner league? No, I'm not kidding. No. And maybe it's because all of his attorneys are flipping like hotcakes, but this is what's happening. Trump on Monday compared himself to Nelson Mandela. Of course, Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in South African prisons before he got out of prison, led the nation out of decades of apartheid rule. Trump is trying to paint himself as a victim of political persecution as well. He told a crowd of supporters at a rally in New Hampshire yesterday, "I don't mind being Nelson Mandela because I'm doing it for a reason." I mean, it's okay. Of course, we know Trump has been indicted 4 different times, 91 criminal accounts. He filed to appear on the presidential ballot in New Hampshire. That's, I guess, why he was there. Yeah, I don't know. Like, you can't make it up that he would compare himself. Do you think, I guess there are many people that think of the charges that Trump is facing as political in nature, that he's a political prisoner, that he's being railroaded by the other side of the aisle, that, it's all a big scam just to lock him up so he can't make his changes to the world. Sorry, commit a crime. Your ass is in court or jail. Not how this works in America. Do we have political prisoners in America? There would be people that say we do. And it seems like, sometimes the winds of justice blowing differently, what we care about at a certain moment is different than another. I can't think of a political prisoner in America, though. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. Please enlighten me. I maybe I'm just not paying attention to it. Yeah, he's just a crook. And Blue Eyes. Sorry I got your name wrong yesterday. Thought about it last night, and someone on the after hours chat said, "I don't think it's Blue Is. I think it's Blue Eyes 420." So I'm so sorry. You know what? I also suck at reading personalized license plates, if that's any consolation to you, Blue Eyes. And Mandela endured repeated torture during parts of those years. Yeah, absolutely. There is no comparison. No comparison. Yeah. No. John comparing him to Hitler. Okay, so here's the thing about that. When someone makes that comparison, it's just, there is no comparison. Hitler would have walked up and shot somebody. Trump has other people for that. So there's a big difference. Big difference. The violence is the difference. Trump is so prescient, says Harry, perfecting his time in prison like Mandela. Yeah. Lori says, I think that MLR not having health insurance, Mary Lou Retton, is partly hubris. People think it can't happen to them, and lots of famous people think they'll be rescued or deserve to be. Perhaps. I mean, who could predict that you'd get a rare form of leukemia and be taken down? I don't know. Um, SF Tesla writes YT is replete with TSE danger videos. Oh, YouTube. Seems like they're trying to scare us, but also found the source of these sort of health problems that we've never had before. Hmm. I mean, I don't know. It seems pretty scary to me. And we've known it for a long time, right? Yeah. Ron talking about Saturday Night Live. Clowns Trump relentlessly on his Jesus similarity claims. Now Mandela. I wonder who will play Mandela. Yeah, it's true. He has compared himself to Jesus as well. Yeah. Brian. Hi, Brian. My all-time favorite license to figure out. Seen on the 810 highway. I'm not going to get it. Tens one? One's knee one? I don't get it. You're gonna have to spell it out for me. See? I can't do it. But it will, but I'll sit around thinking about it for a really long time until the obvious becomes so, yeah. Tensney. Tensney? I don't know. Thank you for that though. Trying to confuse me even more. Good job. Blue Eyes saying more represented USA, so yeah, she deserves. Um, okay. I must have missed something back in another comment. Sandy, if a Democrat committed the crimes Trump committed, they'd be screaming, lock him up. But MAGA Republicans are hypocrites. It's true. Yeah. Um, yeah, so it's just interesting how Trump is doing that. A Trump fact check, by the way. Apparently, during this rally, he claimed that the United States had no terrorist attacks during his presidency. Well, what we know is that's not true at all. Nope. He said the United States had no terrorist attacks during his presidency, and that Republican presidential rival Nikki Haley had initially proposed to flood the U.S. with refugees from Gaza. Um, no, that's not true. And he was fact checked by CNN. Apparently, his Justice Department alleged that a mass murder in New York City in 2017, which killed 8 people and injured others, was a terrorist attack carried out in support of ISIS. So, there you go. There were a variety of other terrorist attacks during the Trump presidency, notably domestic terrorist attack when one of Trump's supporters mailed improvised explosive devices to prominent Democratic officials. They had a white supremacist plead guilty to multiple charges in New York, including murder as a further act of terrorism for killing a black man in March 2017 trying to start a race war. And there was a shooting massacre at a Walmart in Texas in 2019, also called an act of domestic terrorism. That gunman killed 23 people. He was targeting Latinos at the time. So, if you hear Trump say that again, please note, not true. There were several terrorist attacks during his time. One of them an ISIS terrorist attack. If you don't consider a domestic terrorist attack good enough, no. No. I'm going to switch gears and go to a kind of a local story. You remember yesterday, Nikki and I were talking about a threat at Petaluma High School that kept my daughter home from school yesterday? Some kid had written on the bathroom wall, Monday is the day I'm going to come get you and kill you, and listed the names of 3 students. And so a lot of kids stayed home from school yesterday, even though it looked like they kind of knew who did it, but they hadn't made any arrests yet. Um, so I kind of wanted to give an update in that uh, I was so upset yesterday because the email from the district was talking about it's time to hold each other with love and grace. And what I thought they should have said was, and in addition to the love and grace part, any student found threatening the lives of another student will face expulsion or, whatever the district policy is. I wanted to see what the consequences were for vandalism and threatening other students. I thought there was a zero tolerance policy against that. So I emailed the principal and I said, just wondering, what's the consequence if you're caught doing something like this? Not specifically asking about the kids in question, but just as a general policy. And the principal said it is suspension and expulsion. So they sent an email out with that information to the district. So I was happy about that because I feel like we need to know what's going to happen to kids that do this, you know. Speaking of high school and kids that are acting out, there was a fight, like a big fight, that shut down the high school football game in Vallejo. This was between Vallejo High School and Kennedy High School over the weekend. The fighting got so bad, the referees stopped play with nearly 10 minutes left in the game. Vallejo Times sports writer said this was not a good night for Vallejo. Fights were flying everywhere. It was crazy. The coaches were trying to calm the team down so that play could resume, but then another fight happened. The referees were saying just game over, this isn't safe. Then the Vallejo City School District puts out their message, condemning any fighting or aggressive conduct during athletic events. They're investigating, gathering statements from staff members, reviewing video footage recorded during the game. The West Contra Costa School District takes the safety of our student athletes very seriously. But I wonder if, has it always been this way, or are students getting angrier post-pandemic? Are students just becoming, like, we don't care if we have nice things, if we're able to play football or not? Because seasons get taken away. Sports gets taken away. If you can't go to school, or you can't go to a football game and have it not be safe, then they're just not going to have the football game, right? Today at Petaluma High, there's an increased police presence because somebody wrote something in the bathroom. It just feels, and again, maybe it's just incident by incident, but it just feels like more and more it's just unsafe at high schools. Kids are angrier. When I was in high school, I would have been petrified to write some threat on the wall. Not that I would have, but if I was angry enough to threaten someone, I think the fear of what would happen to me might have stopped me. I probably wouldn't have been the kid to write the threat anyway. But I mean, I knew what could happen if you did certain things. This was the punishment. Do kids just not care about the punishment anymore? Or do they think that nothing's really going to happen to them? Did we take away the teeth in the punishment? That's what it feels like in some cases. Now, it used to be that if you got caught vaping at Petaluma High, it'd be a big deal. Now they just look the other way because so many kids are doing it. Can't punish all of them. So, update also on this story we talked about yesterday. This is a doozy. This was an SFO bound flight, Alaska Horizon flight from Everett, Washington to SFO. And they let the off-duty pilots ride in the cockpit. They have a jump seat in there, an extra seat. And so they had this pilot who was off-duty, a Bay Area-based pilot. I think the guy lives in Pleasant Hill. And he lost it. And in the middle of the flight tried to shut down the engines, something that would have killed all the people aboard, which is why now this pilot is being charged with or facing 83 counts of attempted murder for everybody on that plane. He was stopped by the other people in the cockpit, the pilot and the co-pilot, had to subdue him. Then he was walked to the back of the plane. They zip-tied him to the armrest. The people on the plane were told that there was a medical emergency. Some people that were sitting near him in the rear of the plane thought, that doesn't look like a medical emergency, but maybe he had a mental breakdown and that's the medical emergency. But they weren't told that their lives were threatened, and I guess maybe that's good because you don't want people to panic and be angry during the flight. Some people knew. There was a man who was traveling home to San Francisco. He had gone to visit his parents, and he said uh, he splurged for the in-flight Wi-Fi. He said his sister has her pilot's license and is in aviation school to become a commercial pilot. And so after he texted her that the plane was landing, she went on flight radar and was able to relay updates on the communication between the pilot and air traffic control while they were still in flight. So there were a couple people that knew. But he said the flight crew made an announcement that led most passengers to believe there was a medical emergency. He said it was stressful knowing that they were actually deplaning for a more serious reason. He said it was really bizarre because there was no overhead commotion to alert the passengers. The man walked from the cockpit to the back of the plane by himself, where he was then handcuffed or zip tied to the railing. Didn't make any disturbance from the rear. So, yeah. I mean, wow. His name is Joseph David Emerson. He's 44 years old, 83 counts each of attempted murder and reckless endangerment, one count of endangering an aircraft. And it's interesting because I saw this article on who this guy is. And he's from Pleasant Hill. He lives with his wife and he has two young sons. They live in a one-story house. They've got a picture of it on Cron 4. It's all decorated for Halloween. It looks just like a, family with kids. His neighbors say he's positive, very friendly, upbeat, father of two. One neighbor said their kids go to his house sometimes and play. They can't believe that this is what happened. And, all the descriptions of him make him seem like total normal guy. It wasn't that description like he was a loner. He kept to himself. He never talked to anyone. He had shady eyes. He seemed like he had a normal life and that something happened to him that just made him have a complete and total disconnect. There's a picture of him. Mr. Emerson. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. What could be so bad that would cause you to just lose it like that and try to take a plane full of, 83 people down? When you spend your life trying to keep people safe, flying them from one place to another. The plane's captain and co-pilot reacted quickly to maintain engine power and subdue Emerson. They just asked for law enforcement as soon as they landed. Secured the aircraft. So Horizon Air is a regional carrier owned by Alaska Airlines. It was her Horizon flight. I guess they say that Emerson had recently received new training that he was really excited about. And it's one of these cases where people are just shocked. What kind of news would you have to get in order to have things snap this way and do something like that? Like a medical diagnosis or a diagnosis that something was wrong with one of your kids? Or, I mean, I don't know. Sorry for leaving Sandy your comment up there for so long. I don't know what you would have to do. I don't know. His eyes look okay to me. He looks normal to me. Maybe. I don't know. John says maybe we should get a brain scan. Oh, so maybe he has some type of medical issue. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe something happened where this, seemingly normal, everything fine dad just loses it. So, yeah, he looks normal to me too. I'm just glad that people were in charge of that flight that made everything okay. But here's this man and his family and their life is changed forever because of one horrible decision that he made. I'll tell you. It was a scary one. Speaking of airports, did you hear about this guy? Again, it kills me. People keep making the same mistake. Here he is. He's a Washington state senator, this fella. His name is Jeff Wilson. And he was taking a little trip with his family. He went to Hong Kong. He got arrested. Why? Because he put a gun in his briefcase. He said it was there by accident. Now, in his defense, they didn't catch it at the airport in America, where he left to take this flight, and he found it mid-flight as he and his wife were traveling on a 5-week vacation to Southeast Asia. He is a Washington state senator, Jeff Wilson. He finds this gun in his briefcase, which he passed through an airport security checkpoint in Portland, and they didn't find it. Baggage screeners failed to note it. That's a red flag. So mid-flight, he finds this pistol. Plane lands in Hong Kong. He immediately goes to customs officials and calls their attention to it and says, listen, I have this gun. It was total accident in my briefcase. Didn't mean for it to be brought with me. Shouldn't have it. I understand. It's an honest mistake. And so at least he's got that going for him. But I guess what flabbergasts me about these cases over and over again is how people can forget they have a gun in a bag. Like, do you really treat your weaponry with such willy-nilly rules that you could just forget where they are? I just keep it in my briefcase. What? Shouldn't it be locked up in a safe in your house? And when you come home after taking it wherever, you put it back in the safe. Or you put it back where it goes in your house. You just leave it in some random bag and then put clothes on top of it and go to the airport? I think guns should be treated with a little more respect than that. You need to know where your weapons are. Just leave them in some random bag. So, mid-flight between San Francisco and Hong Kong, Mr. Wilson figures out he has the gun. He didn't try to hide it. I guess he could have, although it probably would have been worse for him if customs in Hong Kong gone through his bag and found it on their own. They say, he has his court appearance in Hong Kong now, but I guess he's out on bail there. Hong Kong has very strict gun control laws. No one is allowed to possess any arms or ammunition unless they have a license from the Commissioner of Police, a license which Mr. Wilson here didn't have. And gun violence is very rare in Hong Kong. In the United States, firearms are the #1 killer of children and teens. Not so in Hong Kong. In Washington State, from where Mr. Wilson hails, open carry is allowed for both long guns and handguns without a license, which means people can carry a firearm in many public places, although a lot of private property owners prohibit the guns from being carried on their property. A license is needed to carry a concealed firearm in the state. His pistol is registered in Washington State, and he does have a concealed pistol license, so he can keep it in his backpack or his briefcase or whatever. It's just so stupid. Like, really, dude? I had a next Golden Bachelor. Very funny, Lori. I had a mom friend and I were in a discussion because when we first met, her daughter was coming to my house for a play date. And I said to her, we do have a swimming pool, but it's locked. I watch the kids like a hawk. They will not be, my eyes will not be on them. They will never not be under my eyeballs, basically. And everything's locked up in the backyard. Because I wanted her to know we take our pool safety seriously. It's not a place where the pool gate's swinging open, like in, the daycare in San Jose, and little kids could wander out on their own. No. Back door's locked, pool gate, we're very safe. And then I said, we talked about guns, right? And I, told her we don't have one. There are no guns in this house. It's my policy, much to my husband's chagrin. people will say, you shouldn't say that because, if someone knows you're not armed, then you're more likely to be robbed. No. If I had a gun, my kids would be more likely to be at risk, and so would other people's. And she said, you're so interesting that you said that because I always wonder, and I've never asked that before. And I said, why? If you're sending your child to someone else's house, then as a parent, shouldn't you make sure the place that you're allowing your kid to go to for several hours is safe? Because as the parent whose house they're coming to, I want you to feel comfortable and know that they're as safe as can possibly be. The kid could trip and fall and take a header down some stairs over here. But I want them to know that. Anyway, it's funny because then she asked another parent whose house she said my daughter was going to another house, and I asked them if they had a gun after our conversation. But isn't that how it should be? I think it's how it should be. I'm sure there's a parent who will say, that's none of your business whether I have a gun or not. To which I say, well, then I guess my kid's not coming over for a play date, right? Yeah. So Mr. Wilson, now dealing with the consequences in Hong Kong. Know where your guns are, people. Know where they are. In San Francisco, we've got an incident. It's nice that they're telling people ahead of time. That's what I'll give them on this. There is a big political event coming up in San Francisco. It is the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Conference, APEC. And there are going to be a lot of dignitaries. President Joe Biden will be there. Chinese President Xi Jinping will be there. There will be motorcades through the streets. As a matter of fact, from November 11th to November 17th, there will be parts of downtown San Francisco where streets are just going to be shut down for a whole week. November 14th through the 19th is when it's going to be most impacted. 20,000 people are expected to attend this APEC conference. There are Secret Service and Homeland Security officials that are going to be shutting down streets, a very high level of security because of all the dignitaries coming. They say it's on par with an event like a presidential inauguration. And so they're calling it Carmageddon. Full on Carmageddon. That there won't be any room for people to get where they need to go. The streets will be closed, and that will be it. And I'll show you a map. I mean, it's going to be a mess. This is one of those times where I would say, if you can avoid being in downtown San Francisco, this is the time to have your boss let you work from home, because it's going to be a complete and utter zoo in this particular area. And here's the map. You can see all these streets that are closed off, right? So is it Market, Mission, all these areas? This whole block is going to be no traffic. None. Going to just close it down. They're going to clear it. I don't know what they're going to do with the homeless people there. Shuffle them out. Everyone out. It's APEC coming in. Yeah. That's the security zone. You can see that in the red. The vehicle detours are in blue. And the green is for local traffic only. So just people that happen to live in those areas. That's where they will be funneled in. That's a really, really big area. That's going to be a mess. A lot of thoroughfares right there. So that again is coming in November. Be aware of it. November 14th through 19th is when it's going to be the worst again. But November 11th is when it actually starts. They're saying it's going to upend traffic and transit in this area. So for San Franciscans or people who are working in south of Market, Nob Hill, along the Embarcadero that week, you're going to see a lot of law enforcement coming in. There are going to be residents and workers that have to enter through marked checkpoints, show identification, be subject to search. They're going to be inspecting bags or packages that come within these designated areas. Any deliveries or services in the areas have to be completed before 8 p.m. So it's very interesting. The streets and freeway ramps from Interstate 80 into South of Market around the Moscone Center are closing down from November 14th to 19th. So Mission, Howard, Folsom, closed between 2nd and 5th. Streets and freeway ramps around the Moscone Center also closed between November 14th and 19th. I'm telling you, it's going to be nuts. Significant traffic impacts. People are being urged to take public transit. Drivers should expect delays, plan to give themselves extra time. No street parking within this zone. Absolutely not. So this APEC thing is going to really impact the people of San Francisco and the people that work in this area. They're rerouting buses and cable car lines for this week. Some of the most popular bus routes. The Embarcadero closing from Battery to Broadway. That would have affected me at KGO. Not anymore, though. Here I am working from home. Woohoo! So yeah, this is going to be a big deal coming through. And it's cool that maybe San Francisco will be highlighted in a positive way, because I'm sure that along with all the street closures, there's going to be a cleaning, a hosing down of the streets and a moving of the people. To some people that's good, to some people it isn't, I suppose. So, but I thought, wow, that's a big closure. Whew, for a whole week. That's a mess. I don't know. Did you hear about this story? This one makes me really mad. Really mad. Speaking of San Francisco and things that happen here, I always tell my kids, if you like it, take it with you, right? So if you like the item that you're planning to leave in the car, then you don't really like it. Because if you liked it, you take it with you. Never leave anything in the car that you care about, because there's always a chance someone could break in and steal it. That means your school iPad. Don't leave it in the car. That means your toy. That means whatever it is. If you like it, take it with you. They couldn't really do that in this case. There was a U-Haul truck, and it was packed full of puppets and puppet show equipment and lights and masks and costumes and things. This whole U-Haul packed full because a theater company had performed in San Francisco. It is the Persian Puppet Theater Show. And they had just performed in San Francisco. They carefully packed the truck up for its next trip to be to Seattle for a performance there. They just had completed 4 performances at Fort Mason's Cowell Theater, and they were headed next to Seattle. But before that, they had stayed the night in San Francisco at a hotel. They had packed up the U-Haul. It was parked in the hotel parking lot. And somebody stole it. Everything. Hamid Rahmanian, who's the creator and director of the Persian puppet theater show Song of the North, said surveillance cameras from the Comfort Inn in San Francisco by the Bay shows 2 men stole the truck and all of its contents. That's the show's entire production. At about 2:30 in the morning. Van Ness and Lombard, the Comfort Inn. So all the puppets gone. Intricate masks, costumes, props, projectors, scene elements. Their whole show, everything gone. 3 years this show was in the making, and somebody just made off with it. They're asking for the help of the community to tell us if you see an abandoned U-Haul truck with Arizona plates. They just want their production back so they can keep with their tour, to share their story. The Song of the North is based on a Persian poem called, and I'm sorry if I messed this up, Shahnameh, Book of Kings. The story dates back to 1000 AD. It is well known throughout Central Asia. They parked the truck at 9:30 in the hotel parking lot. 2:30 in the morning it gets stolen, and they say by the time they realized it was missing, they thought maybe someone called to have it towed. But no one called the towing company. He said his initial reaction was hysteria. He was devastated that years worth of his life's work had suddenly vanished. He said he's been doing this for 15 years. The next stop in Seattle at Meany Theater already sold 1,300 tickets, and he doesn't know what he's going to do now. His wife is his producer. They're talking to agents. They're considering showing a recording of a previous performance, maybe, or canceling their show in Seattle. And his whole point in doing the show is not only to tell the story of the Book of Kings, but he says it showcases his Persian culture in a positive way. He said the show helps create diversity, especially for Iran, which has been demonized in the years since the Islamic Revolution. He said people really enjoy it, and he's devastated. And you wonder, whoever took that U-Haul, when they opened the back of it and they saw puppets and costumes, what are they going to do? What are you going to do with that? You going to sell that? No. You're going to make the money off puppets and props. So what are you going to do with that? Someone needs to anonymously call those folks and say, listen, we found your truck. And by the way, all the stuff's still here. What a disappointment for people. And I think, what does that say? I go back to, if you like it, don't leave it in the car. In this situation, how do you? Can't take an entire production worth of items with you, so you leave a guard by the truck, right? You got somebody out there all night. That's, I don't know, another solution, unless you have a very secure parking lot area, or the people in the hotel let you park it right in front, so the people in the front desk can keep a watch. Something. Yeah, I don't know. What a disappointment. They leave San Francisco thinking, poorly of us. San Jose residents thinking poorly of the police because of some sideshows over the weekend. There were a couple of really, really big ones. One at Meridian and Hamilton. Police were there, but there's complaints about how long it took them to get there. They issued citations to people watching. They confiscated a couple ghost guns that were loaded. 2 cars crashed head on during that sideshow. Then they went another couple miles away at Highway 85 in Camden. And police are saying, despite a high call volume and staffing shortages, that they went out there and issued the tickets and confiscated the loaded ghost guns and whatnot. But residents there are complaining, saying that it took the police way too long to respond. Way too long. That these people were allowed to spin around and spin around and spin around in a dangerous fashion, with 2 cars crashing head on. And, why did it take the officers so long to arrive? We have not very many officers, I guess, right? I don't know. So San Jose police responding to that. If you are working from home, there is one company that, if you're really, really good at what you do, and maybe your job is kind of one of those niche jobs that they really need you, they'll let you work from home. But if your job is common, you got to come into the office. What? Yes, the policy is not the same for everyone at Roblox. Come work from San Mateo or quit, apparently. That's what they're saying. This article is in SF Gate. And it's a video game giant Roblox saying if employees don't start coming into the office 3 days a week, they're out, gone. But it doesn't apply to everybody. The San Mateo firm's founder and CEO, his name is David Bazuki, told employees they have until mid-January to decide whether they'll begin working from the office 3 days a week or leave the company. But there's a carve-out. for employees with niche skills or institutional knowledge, multidisciplinary skills, and deep expertise with Roblox systems. Those jobs or jobs that are required to be remote, well, then you can keep working from home. Because we don't want to lose you. You're too important. This guy over here, the marketing guy, we can afford to lose him. It's okay. Before this, Roblox employees have been allowed to stay remote and only come in for quarterly get-togethers. So that's cool, right? But yeah, by January 16th, they have to either start coming into the office, and those that decline will get their severance and be out of their jobs by April 15th. Those who accept will be paid to relocate and expected to be working from San Mateo by mid-July of next year. So if you had moved out of the area during the pandemic, got to move back. That's it. Bazuki says there's Zoom fatigue and concern that early career workers may miss out on mentorship opportunities within office interactions. So, but if you're important, then the rules don't apply to you. It's only if you're just a general worker, then the rules apply to you. Interesting, right? Yeah. We'll talk about Elon Musk in just a moment, but I see Blue Eyes, whose name I'm getting right today. Thank you guys for the help on deciphering that. Has come through with a super sticker. So I want to say thank you for the $10. What a lovely thing with all the colors of hearts and rainbows and beautifulness. Blue Eyes 420. Thank you for that $10 super sticker, and a huge thank you to Harry as well for the $5 super sticker. Thank you for the support of the show. It's you guys, it's so appreciated, especially when Nikki's not here, and I know that you're here helping me keep things going. I appreciate it. If you could click the like button, that's a free way to support the show as well. So now that we're all here together, one like on the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already as well. These things go a long way to helping us out. So thank you for that. All right, let's move on to Elon Musk. This is a cray-cray. I don't know half the time if he's kidding or if he really means this stuff. Is he just trying to get himself in the news? I don't know if he is or not. But Elon Musk wants Wikipedia to change its name. He's offering $1 billion with a B, $1 billion, if Wikipedia will change its name to Dickopedia with a D. It has to change its name for at least 1 year, so it can't just change it for a day, take the billion, and then change it back the next day. He says you got to keep the name change for at least 1 year, or it's a no-go with the billion. I'll give them $1 billion if they change their name to Dickopedia. Please add that to the cow and poop emojis on my wiki page, in the interest of accuracy. I guess he's upset about what his Wikipedia page says and how people keep changing it to have negative connotations. One user, a journalist, suggested the online encyclopedia take the deal because it can always change back the name after you collect the money. And Musk said, 1 year minimum. I mean, I'm not a fool. He's been criticizing Wikimedia Foundation, the nonprofit that hosts Wikipedia, for asking for money, because Wikipedia does. You guys have probably all seen the message. You know, we're crowdfunded. We count on you. The same thing we say here on this show. It's one of these things where they have a staff, they have to pay people, and it's a free service for us all. So Musk says, have you ever wondered why the Wikimedia Foundation wants so much money? It certainly isn't needed to operate Wikipedia. It actually is. He wrote on X. You can literally fit a copy of the entire text on your phone. So what's the money for? Inquiring minds want to know. It's because they have a staff to pay, you moron. I don't think they're going to take the billion, although it might be worth it for a year. I don't think so. Can't be a sellout like that, right? I don't know. We'll see what they do. $1 billion. And is he good for it, or is he just messing around with people? He is, his big mouth has gotten him into some trouble before. As a matter of fact, The Justice Department is apparently now expanding investigations and issuing subpoenas for information when it relates to Tesla. Federal prosecutors are digging deeper into Tesla's way beyond the electric vehicle makers' automated driving system. So we knew they were looking into the automated driving thing, right? Now they're issuing subpoenas for information instead of simply requesting it because they're not getting what they need. Musk isn't very cooperative in these things. But they're looking into personal benefits, related parties, vehicle range, and personnel decisions as well. The article in SF Gate says the additional investigation topics and the subpoenas suggest that prosecutors have broadened their inquiry and they have found the need to force Tesla to disclose information now. The filing indicates prosecutors may be investigating Tesla's CEO Elon Musk and whether the company has been candid in describing all the features of its vehicles. I know a lot of people that have Teslas and they love them. Love them. But do you feel if you have a Tesla like you bought what they were really advertising, that everything they said it was going to do is what it does? The full self-driving feature and autopilot are both classified as driver assistance systems. The company says on its website the vehicles can't drive themselves. But this whole probe apparently is a lot wider than just looking at autopilot features. The DOJ, they say, often starts with a formal written request and escalates to administrative subpoenas if it thinks it isn't getting full cooperation, which must be happening with Tesla. And that's not surprising. Tesla hasn't commented to SF Gate, but they say no government agency has concluded any wrongdoing yet. For the first time, though, Tesla said in its filing that the investigation could actually damage the company's brand. Should the government decide to pursue an enforcement action, there exists the possibility of a material adverse impact on our business, results of operation, prospects, cash flows, financial position, or brand. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. On one hand, just as someone from the Bay Area who saw this company founded here and, sees Teslas all over the place and loves the fact that there's not pollution spewing into the air every time you see an electric car go by. I want that company to succeed, even though I think Elon Musk is Lulu. Sometimes brilliant people are, right? I want that company to succeed, but I also want them to be honest with people. I want the car to do what they say it's going to do. And I want them to have integrity in their staffing decisions. We've seen these comments before from staff members at Tesla alleging discrimination and some pretty rotten things happening on the factory floor. Oh, I don't know if that's what the investigations are about, but, on one hand, I want them to have to play by the rules, but on the other, I also want them to be successful. So, success leads me to the next story to discuss with you guys. And this one is about colleges and about networking, making a lot of money. If that is your gauge of success, then Santa Clara University, which is a Catholic university in the South Bay, is on one of the top lists for post-graduation salaries. This story says graduates of Santa Clara University have ranked in the top 1% of undergraduate alumni nationwide for the salaries they report in their early and mid-careers. This is out of a press release from Santa Clara University. The 2023 College Salary Report, released by PayScale, which is a compensation data company based in Seattle, Washington, took a look of what happens to all these college graduates and whether or not, they're making a lot of money. What are the top colleges for money, honey. Out of the 1,559 schools offering bachelor's degrees, Santa Clara University alumni ranked number 9 in the top 1% for average salaries reported. The median earnings for SCU alumni within their first 5 years of post-grad was $87,300. For those with a decade or more of professional experience, the median salary was $173,100. Santa Clara among just 3 California colleges or universities to appear in the top 10. And it made me think about whether or not it's the education these people are getting at Santa Clara University. You say, oh, our school is so great. Look at the education. People from here, they graduate to go on to do really, really well. Or is it the networking? Because if you go here, we know all these people in business and they'll hire you because it says Santa Clara University on your resume. And is that fair? That whole networking thing? That network of alumni. Because you could have a better candidate, but because this one says you went to Santa Clara University, they scoot right in. There's something so, I don't know, we talked yesterday on the After Party Live about nepotism, but there's something so, I don't know, kind of inbred about that. So, I don't know. I'm not saying Santa Clara University isn't a great school. And I'm not saying that people that have gone there don't deserve to have great jobs. I'm just saying maybe it's not all about the education. Maybe it's also about the, who you know. So I just wanted to bring that up. Maybe it made that story made me feel a little oogie, I have to say. I'm sure if you've gone to Santa Clara University, you're feeling pretty good about it, right? And maybe that's why you pay the big money to go to a private school like that, to go to a college, well, to go to any college with a big name and a network, because you want the opportunity, to have that network, to be part of that exclusive club. Okay. All right. I should do a little bit of news because I've been quite remiss in not doing news today, and then I have some mom stories to tell you about. But first, let's see if I can pull together a little newscast here. Make sure that we're not missing any of the headlines of the day. So, see if I can start my little news sounder. And away we go. Here it is.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
This is the Nikki Medoro Show, and let us go right to the news now. Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer is the Republican nominee for Speaker of the House. Emmer beating out 6 other candidates during 5 rounds of voting behind closed doors today. They say a vote could happen as early as today. The war between Israel and the Palestinian group Hamas is in its 18th day now. There are reports of intensive talks ongoing to free a large number of hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza. This comes after 2 Israeli women were released by the militant group on what they called humanitarian grounds, on top of the 2 Americans released last week. So far, 4 altogether hostages have been released. The United States is warning Iran against escalating the war between Israel and Hamas. While addressing the UN Security Council today, Antony Blinken said the United States will respond decisively if Iran or its proxies carries out attacks on U.S. personnel in the Middle East. Blinken also announcing 33 Americans were killed in Hamas attacks on Israel early this month. A Florida Democrat is slamming the White House for its response to a question on anti-Semitism. During Monday's White House press briefing, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about concerns over rising anti-Semitism, in which she said the administration has seen no credible threats. She went on to speak about more crimes targeting Muslims and Arab Americans. Representative Jared Moskowitz, who is Jewish, called it a weak answer, said the simple answer should be, yes, you are concerned. JP Morgan Chase's CEO ripping into central banks for their wrong predictions. At a financial forum in Saudi Arabia, Jamie Dimon suggested more humility about financial forecasting. He spoke critically of U.S. economic policies, saying he is hesitant about the omnipotent feeling that central banks and governments can manage through all of this stuff. No, Jamie Dimon, he says some interesting things sometimes. The world's oldest dog has passed away. This dog was 31. The name of the dog is Bobby. He lived to be over 31 years old. Bobby died last week at an animal hospital in Portugal. Can't say he didn't have a nice long life. He was officially recognized as the oldest dog ever in February, 2 weeks after a 23-year-old Chihuahua attempted to stake a claim at that title. That dog named Spike is now the oldest living dog. 31 years old. Man, that's a long, long life. I wanted to tell you the story about grilled cheese, but I can't find it, so I'll have to. Oh, here it is. Largest grilled cheese. Here it is. Two Wisconsin brothers setting a new Guinness World Record for the largest grilled cheese sandwich. 10-year-old Iggy and 11-year-old Exodus. Iggy and Exodus made the sandwich 10.9 feet long, 6.25 feet wide, and 2 3/4 inches thick. They used more than 300 pounds of bread dough and 60 pounds of cheese. The boys have their own YouTube channel, because really, who doesn't now? The Exodus and Iggy Show, with 150,000 subscribers. Well, they've got us beat. Well done, boys. Yeah, largest grilled cheese sandwich. So we'll see if they get that record. All right, that is the news. Of course, this show is crowdfunded, and we honestly couldn't do it without you. And I'm so grateful for all the support. Between the Patreon and the PayPal support and the super stickers you see here, Nikki and I just can't thank you enough. Please find us at thenikkimedoroshow.com. Let's turn now to these stories that I have for you, these mom stories. I saw this story, and it made me laugh because when I had my babies, they're now 9 years old and 14 years old. People would judge you, like if you had a nice stroller, they'd go, oh, that's a nice one. Or, I almost bought that one, but I chose this one instead. There's always a stroller discussion. But now people are being judged by their strollers. This is a story out of Parents magazine. Parents are talking about how on a recent family outing, they felt judged for not having what's considered one of the higher end or luxury baby strollers. Listen, if this is your problem, being worried about being judged for what kind of stroller you have a great life. Let me tell you. I don't want to compare it to a war zone. There are people right now in a heck of a lot of trouble. And you're worried about being judged for what kind of stroller you have? I'm saying, take that problem and run with it. Yeah. And also, there's a lot to worry about with your kids, right? When you're a new mom, you're worried, are they meeting all their milestones? Are they lifting their head up enough? Are they learning their letters fast enough? Is there something wrong? Am I feeding them enough? Am I a bad mother? Am I doing enough? Am I getting it right? I mean, all these things that you have to worry about. And you're worried about someone who's judging you on what kind of stroller you have? People. So this mom posts this TikTok video in which she complains about being judged for her stroller. She says, I never thought my stroller would enable classist side eyes. On a family trip to the zoo, she shared how she felt other parents were judging her as she pushed what isn't one of the more expensive brands of baby stroller. Who cares? She said every single stroller or like baby device that I see that's going by is like an Uppa Vista, Mockingbird, the Wonderfold. And I'm pushing my Graco. And I feel like people are judging me because of my Graco baby stroller. Other moms said, I feel you. I just jumped from even flow expand to a Nuna mix next for the same reason. I can't with these people. Do you feel like when you go, I mean, and it could be baby gear or whatever. Do you feel like you have to have the name brand fanciest thing? Do you really care what someone thinks about what you're carrying around? I mean, that the place in which you must live to worry about such things. I went to the park the other day with my baby trend stroller. I'm not kidding. Every single person had a Wonderfold and they weren't friendly. Like, you're not going to make mom friends, or your kids aren't going to make little kid friends if you're pushing the wrong stroller. Please. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This article goes on and on about baby paraphernalia and brand names and how people are judging each other. I think what happens is when you first become a mom, you experience this other people judging the way you parent, right? The choices that you make. I had a friend and I who differed on a lot of different things. When it was time to start feeding our toddlers milk, I picked organic milk because I felt like not having hormones and other things in there was important to me. She didn't pick organic milk. She picked milk with an additive of I think the same additive that's in fish oil that is supposed to kickstart synapses in your brain or whatever brain health. And that was important to her. Now, I thought there's really no proof that shows that the thing that is in the additive really has any benefit. So I would rather go with the thing that I know is right, which is the organic milk. But two different opinions. Both could be right. Both are valid. I had my opinion. She had her opinion. We're still friends and it was fine. But she judged me for my opinion and I judged her for her opinion. My thing, I wouldn't put flame retardant pajamas on my kids or flame retardant sheets. That was not important to her. She thought they're going to get chemicals everywhere. Doesn't really matter. So for me, it was I know the chemicals are going to seep into their skin if I put the flame retardant pajamas on them. For her, it was, I'd rather have flame retardant pajamas. So if there's a fire, they're less likely, would survive it, or they're more likely to survive it. I always thought, listen, if the flames are that close, fire retardant pajamas aren't going to help. But whatever. Again, valid reasons for each person deciding what they want to do, completely different opinions. But people judge you based on those choices. Well, she doesn't do this. Well, she does this with her kids. Whatever. There's so much judging going on. But now we're judging people based on what kind of stroller they have. People are so silly. So silly. There's another story I wanted to get to out of Parents Magazine, because when I was looking at that stroller story, I found this. And this one actually has some benefit to the world. This mom talks about how practicing emotional intention is helping me and my family. And I read this story and I realized they're right. So if you're one of those moms who are anxious and stressed out all the time, then your kids often will be, anxious and stressed out. If you're more of a laid back person, your kids seem to be a little bit more mellow. Not always, but your mood can really set the tone. Something I've noticed without being intentional about it, right? The mood of the parent can set the tone for the mood of the household. And I think it's realizing that and being conscious of it that will allow you to kind of keep a calm house. And it's something that I should probably think more about. And I think it's not only for households with kids, it's just for all of our homes. This licensed marriage and family therapist, Dr. Racine Henry, telling Parents Magazine, emotions can be a source of comfort and freedom. We feel things based on how we experience life. And a sudden burst of emotion or the presence of a particular emotion can be our body communicating a lack of safety, a need for comfort, confirmation, or something good occurring. Okay. This mom says she realizes she has the power to impact the mood of the entire house. When I'm sleepy and quiet, the kids will crawl into bed with me, using me as a jungle gym, tapping away at electronics. When I'm upbeat and ready to dance, my 5-year-old asks me to put on some Daft Punk and we can shimmy together. If I'm upset and withdrawn, my family's energy will sometimes fall in line and cause us all to be a bit short. Being mindful about my emotional emanations helps bring a sense of honesty and stability to our home. We all benefit from, in this case, mommy's positive outlook and emotional awareness. It's a backbone of emotional intention, which is a practice of setting the day's tone with a good emotion. So that when you wake up, you don't just say, oh, I'm in a bad mood today, right? You say, all right, I know that my mood is going to affect everyone else. And I want this to be a really positive day. And I want my kids to have a great day at school. And I want my husband, whoever you live with, to have a great day at work or have a positive experience today or whatever. And so I'm going to shift my outlook today to be positive. I don't know if you would call that being fake necessarily, or just trying to be intentional about setting a good tone in your house. Sometimes I feel like if more people did that, or at least thought about, trying to do it, because it's not always possible. Sometimes, things happen during the day, and by the end of the day, you're pissed off and tired and whatever. But if you live with a roommate, or if you live with a spouse, or if you live with a parent, or whatever it is, do you think enough about how your mood affects other people? And if, I guess when the front door opens and people come in from school, and I hate to quote Dr. Phil, but I'm gonna, because I always liked it when he used to say, home should be a safe place to fall. Right? Home should be a happy place to land. The world is tough enough out there. There's enough stress at work, angry people at the store, people honking on the road, girls that don't like you in high school, kids that make fun of you on the playground, whatever. That when you come home, I want it to be a safe, happy place where all those worries go away. And so what can I do to make it so that this is a happy place, that this is a place where you feel secure and safe in that? And so instead of just kind of rolling with whatever, being more intentional about that seems to be a smart way to do it. Anyway, I started thinking about that last night and how I can be more intentional with moods and kindness. So, all right, let's go to the chat, because I haven't read what you guys have talked about in a little while. So it's time to see what you have to say. Moms always rule, says Doug. Yes. Doug also says nothing wrong with Dr. Phil. You got this. Yes. Thank you. Judy, I would have probably gone with the flame retardant pajamas. I know what it feels like to be on fire. Oh God. I'm so sorry, Judy. That's awful. Karen says regarding the mom stuff, I don't judge anyone unless they're displaying something negative like judgmental attitude. Like judging someone for what kind of stroller they're pushing, right? The only time I really judge a parent is if they're an anti-vaxxer. Ooh, totally. I'm with you. And it's one of those things, Eric, where everyone has the right to make their own choice and their own decision, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to give you the side eye a little bit. I'm just saying. Yes. Knit one, purl one. Most of my clothes are secondhand. When I walk, I see some people in their leisure clothes, and I'm just wearing my old trashed crap. Some are not friendly. Some are. Never had kids. Yeah, you know what? People shouldn't judge you. And they do, because I guess they don't know you. So how can they, they can't judge the real you. They just have to judge the surface you, the you that you're presenting to the world. But they're missing out. Knit one, purl one. John says, as a parent of 2 girls, nobody gives an F about your stroller. I'm much too concerned about keeping up with my own kids to worry about what you've got going on with your stroller. Absolutely. Now, if somebody has the stroller that I wanted, then I'm like, oh, that's a really nice stroller. I still really like that stroller. Maybe, but I don't care if you're pushing a Graco. I will say, my sister did a bunch of research about the safest car seats and looked at the European tests, because they test their car seats at faster, higher rates of speed, crash tests. And there were certain brands that withheld, that did better in those higher tests. And so I don't necessarily think it was judging, but I don't know, whatever. Yeah. If you don't have the self-driving Tesla stroller, what are you really doing? Says LAX Paint. It's true. Lady Beatrice says, as long as the stroller or baby device is safe for the child, the designer shouldn't matter. And it doesn't. Come on. Really? Morons shouldn't be parents. Truth. Child development is something to concern oneself with. What stroller you have is so very superficial. Isn't that the truth? All right, last story before we head over to the Mark Thompson show. It's this one, an entertainment story. And I don't know why it surprised me so much. But John Stamos is now telling this story about how he was devastated, and I mean devastated, when he walked in and found his girlfriend having relations, we could say, with Tony Danza. Yeah. He says he cried. He was so upset when his girlfriend cheated on him with Tony Danza. You don't, think of these things, these people that are famous getting into these situations, but I guess it happens everywhere. So here is a picture of John Stamos and his then girlfriend. Her name is, there she is. Can see that picture there. Her name is Terry Copley. And now in this new memoir, this I guess is memoir season, right? John Stamos has this new book called If You Would Have Told Me, a Memoir, and it came out today, the publisher Henry Holt and Company. And he details this thing, this situation where he walks in to a pool house and finds his then girlfriend, Terry, in bed doing the do with Tony Danza. And he takes one look at first he said, I saw the ripped abs. And then I realized that it was Tony Danza. And I was so upset. And I ran out of the house and I had tears and I was devastated. She says, no, we weren't together at that time, that we had already broken up. I wasn't cheating on him. But John Stamos remembers it a very different way. There's Tony Danza. I mean, I guess she has similar taste in dudes, right? She's living the life, this one, from John Stamos to Tony Danza. But the story goes that, I guess, they were on TV at the same time. John Stamos was on Full House, and Tony Danza's Who's the Boss was a show on the network that led into Full House. So John Stamos says, because Full House followed the successful Who's the Boss, he thinks that had a lot to do with the success of Full House. So he said, back then you go, life isn't fair. And then, oh, wait a minute, it got evened out. He said, I honestly believe if we didn't follow his show, Who's the Boss, in the summer, that it would have been one and done for a season of Full House. So that he benefited from Tony Danza's success because of where the shows were placed. So we really can't be too mad at the guy. And he said, really, it wasn't the right girl for him anyway. So there you go. All right. I want to thank you guys for sticking with me on the Nikki Medoro show today. Nikki off tomorrow as well, and then she will be back let's go over to the Mark Thompson Show right now. And we've got a lot going on. David K. Johnston on the Mark Thompson Show today. We've got Jim Avila popping through to talk about his new article. And Jefferson Graham is back. So a lot going on. Let's head over there right now. Thank you again for being here with me on the Nikki Medoro Show. Let's end it like we always do. Here he is. It's Jake.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You sprout like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.